2020. So in this video, I'll be talking about Israel's idea of, is currently being debated about total suspension of personal rights for the coronavirus, or protection against the coronavirus. And I just want to be clear, I'm not against Israel. I want to make that very clear. It does some good things and some bad. It's a very small country, and it's done a lot less damage. Because of that, it's done a lot less damage to the world in the future compared to what big countries, including us, America, have done. So without that, so the idea behind this is using Israel's counterterrorism technology to help fight against the coronavirus, an invisible enemy. Threats have been man-made or allowed to happen ever since well before World War II. Some examples of this being Hitler firebombing his own Reichstag and using that to invade neighboring countries. I believe Poland was one of them. And use it as a way to crack down. So there's multiple reasons they do this. I've covered this before, but people benefit very greatly from war. Banks, weapons manufacturers, that's a small-time conspiracy, but it definitely helps to keep the secrecy because it's benefiting them, it's paying them off. The second reason, the main reason, is to as a way to crack down on people. Hitler definitely did it, claiming people could, for the security of people, somebody could be a spy in here from one of our enemy countries. We need to have surveillance, checkpoints, papers, please, that type of thing. So these are just a way to crack down and tighten security on the citizen population. Same as 9/11. You use that to crack down on people, and then also those people benefited from the oil there, the war, banks, things like that, and they also used it to crack down on us. The Patriot Act, way more surveillance happening in America after that. Another example is Hussam being blamed for the babies in the incubators. I believe I've talked about this. The Naria testimony is the same thing. She came out and said that he would grab a baby out of the incubator and just kill it or something. It's something ridiculous, and then it turned out to be completely false. And many people knew that. Used that to invade there and panic people. And I don't know how they used that to crack down on people, but it definitely helped in the terrorism scheme of things. I can get into this another time too, because I have a whole every false flag or attack that has happened. I wrote down the benefits and the reasons why they did it, so I can get into that another time. I'll remember to do that. And there's many more of these examples. Now we see this man-made virus as an invisible enemy, very similar to climate change being used as a threat. It can be used as a way to surveil the public and increase carbon taxes. Surveilling the public for many countries have done this, like some countries in Europe, cracking down on people, limiting the amount of gas you can use and things like that, and increasing carbon taxes to Al Gore and many other people. And coronavirus can be used as a way to require certain vaccines from people, and also there's going to be some passport required for interstate travel now, and I doubt they'll get rid of that afterwards. So once they gain ground, they're not going to get rid of that. It's ground gained. That's moving towards the target. They're not going to get rid of it. So once they put in martial law or they put in checkpoints, most likely they won't get rid of that. Just like TSA could have been temporary for terrorists, and then once after the war on terrorism was over, they would get rid of it, but that won't happen. Same with the war on drugs, things like that, cracking down on crack. And so that won't stop because the war on drugs isn't over. But even if the war on terrorism is over, they're not going to get rid of TSA. They've gained that ground on the civilians, the population. So they won't get rid of that. So if we have these passports put in, or these, you have to have a passport to travel from state to state, and many other things like that. I know in a couple months in October, you're going to have a second license or ID. So I'll make a video of that when that comes closer, but that's also very important. But they'll require vaccines just to get on a plane. I'm sure of that. Something that's full of something that'll kill you or something. Here's a point. There have been votes and polls, as well as asking people they rather have security or freedom. We did this in one of my English classes. An astounding number of people, even in the class and in these polls, chose security over personal freedom. So here we go, folks. The extinction of personal freedom for security, and many people will go along with it just easily. Many people will just give up their personal freedom, like many people have in other countries, and here in America, living in the big city, for a sense of security, even though it's false security, and that people who you think are securing you are actually going to be the ones who end up killing you. So I won't go along with that. Now, here's a quote from Sego Sitesky. I think I'm saying that right. I don't care if I do or not because I don't like this guy. Here's what he said. A lockdown and personal monitoring of people and a total halt on personal freedoms is what he said is urgently necessary. And as if this will somehow stop the spread. Now, that's one of the biggest goals of the virus and every other attack is taking away personal freedoms. That was the quote, and all this over a virus. But it is the same for any other threat. There's been restrictions on personal freedoms due to terrorism that I mentioned earlier. Now conservatives and just private news, like reporters and just people making videos like me, but more big-time people like Alex Jones and many others are being labeled as a terrorist, or even gun owners, just normal Americans are being pointed to as the enemy. Just like the Oklahoma City bombing, using that to crack down on people. That was another false flag that I forgot to mention. Using that as a way to crack down on people and blame just your normal white male who's a supporter of guns and freedom. And I see that McVeigh was I'm not going to say a terrorist. You know what I'm saying? But they use that as a way to crack down on people. So go try and buy a few thousand pounds of fertilizer for your farm and see what happens. So we'll be labeled as a terrorist and turn into the next threat. All in the name of security, like I said. All in the name of security. And I won't go along with their little plan. I will fight for my freedom. I'll fight for my freedom and for the future, and for my future children's future, and for the Constitution, because that's my whole life purpose. I will never choose security over freedom, because I know it comes with that. Even when they come and take it, which they will, saying it's for your own good. And this entire planet is turning into a global prison planet. Just like the amazing Alex Jones has some stuff to do with that, prisonplanet.com. Now, this is something that most people have never expected as a threat in history. Something I read from one of them, Braun. Well, I heard about it right before his death. He told a woman, I cannot remember her name. I'm sorry. I'm kind of had a lot. This all came to me earlier, and I knew I wouldn't be able to get it all on camera because my brain just kind of dies when I get on camera. So I have to have all this. But as I continue to make videos, hopefully I'll get better with it and just be able to think right on the spot. Somewhat well organized because I can do it. Usually interacting with somebody, but it's difficult on camera. I forgot her name, like I said. She had a testimony on the Serious Disclosure Project, and she was the assistant of Warner von Braun, and he told her that the first threat would be the Russians at this time, then terrorists, which happened, again, set up or allowed to happen. Those are the two main points. There's a difference, though, slightly, but it doesn't really matter for this. Then third world country crazies like North Korea, and then the final threat would be from space, such as asteroids, and then an alien threat. And it's all a lie, he said. And when I say aliens, I mean outer space aliens, not to be confused with the demons that I talk about. Not trying to get into this, which I've covered. They are the real problem. To all this, the fallen one and his demons is the real problem, which is the Bible talks about it, but I'm not trying to get into this in this little report. But there's plenty of literature about that. It's just very deep. Some call them aliens, but that makes it confusing, so I won't. I'll just call them ETs. So I'm talking about the space aliens. That's their proper name, is extraterrestrial. Well, when Warner Von Braun said this, I think he seemed to miss a threat of global warming and viruses. I don't think he saw that coming. That they could use for their plan. And it makes sense that modern times come with modern threats. I think the alien threat will come in the future, possibly, but they may have trashed that plan. The only point to that plan was to keep oil in business by not exposing the technologies that those crafts used to get here, to create a World War III in space, for many reasons. Weapon manufacturers is not a major deal, banks, and to unite people around the threat from outer space and have the power systems rise out of that, much like Hitler did when their country was in a rough spot, and he kind of rose out of that and everybody kind of followed his lead. Unite everybody around that threat, even though there is none, because we'd be gone. Not to say that ETs don't exist, which they really do. You can go outside right now and do CE5 under the stars and see them for yourself, or go as an astronaut to the space station and see them up there, because there's plenty of evidence to back that up. But to unite people into globalism and have a dictatorship right out of that, much like Hitler did. I see that they may have trashed this plan because it cannot be used to crack down on the public, since the government cannot say we need to surveil everyone and get rid of personal freedoms because you could be an extraterrestrial. That's just not possible. That wouldn't work. People would catch on to that. People are catching on to this plan already with the virus, and half of Americans think that the media is lying about something and don't trust it when they're talking about the coronavirus. So that's why I think the plan was trashed and replaced with this one, which is definitely be more successful, though it's not going along how they wanted it to, because most people don't believe the damn thing that they're saying. So all that billions of dollars spent to build a secret space program and all the re-engineered craft will probably never be used for the propaganda. Well, except for getting the globalists off the planet once they have killed all of us and are ready to leave. Which is again their plan: kill the majority of us and they'll transcend and become gods and go to the next level. So, and surely they have that technology, possibly from this craft or what they've gotten from the devil himself, in their deal that they made. So, that's the plan. I'll see you guys tomorrow.